Hey everyone, Richard here. This weekend I went to a card show, as you probably saw from that first clip. Got some autographs, picked up some major cards from my collection, and just had a good time. It's been a long time since I went to a card show, and even longer since I went to a card show and actually kind of like prepped for it. So yeah, let's just kind of get into it, what my plan was and everything. I actually brought a trade binder with me this time. I purchased this binder about a week before the show, and I just went through my collection and put together all kinds of stuff that would be good trade bait. One tip for shows in general, card shows, have a trade binder and have nothing in it that you are attached to, because if there's anything you're attached to in there, odds are the vendor's going to see that and want that. But definitely have a trade binder, because despite spending, well, not even spending, despite leaving with quite a bit of value, I actually left with more money than I entered with. And that's because card shows are great for trading. So yeah, we're actually going to do this kind of out of order. I'm going to show the autographs I got first, because they were last minute, and I decided to sort of do them because, one, the voice actors were really nice, and two, I had a little extra money in my pocket. I was like, I can justify doing this. So the first one I actually went and did was Mark Britton, who is the voice of Berter and all kinds of other Dragon Ball Z characters. Really cool. He was the opening clip of this video. Yeah, for $30, he signed the card. He gave me the card. He gave me the case the card was in. He took all kinds of selfies with me. He let me record him saying that line. I wish comic conventions were that friendly when it comes to voice actors and stuff. Yeah, $30, I got all that. He was super cool. Insisted on taking pictures of different poses and everything. I'm sure I'll throw some of those up here so you guys can see him, because just a cool guy. Really cool. And then the other person I got a signed card from, same story, very friendly, did his voice lines unprompted, allowed for pictures, got the card and the case, all for $30. And that is the voice actor for Captain Ginyu. He also is known for the this time on Dragon Ball Z or next time on Dragon Ball Z voice line. That's kind of his calling sign, if you will. Became a meme for a while, but he signed it right there in purple. So yeah, got that. Got those two great experiences. Yeah, those were entirely impromptu things that happened just because I had done well trading. So yeah, definitely have a trade binder there so that you can lessen the cost a little bit, if you will. All right, so like I said, I did trading. I'm actually going to show you the second trade I did while there, because the first trade was also the biggest trade. I kind of planned it that way because I wanted to have my binder stacked for the first trade. But when I went into this convention, I had two kind of goals, if you will. One, I wanted to look for any PSA 9 base set Pokemon cards I didn't already have in my collection, because I'm working on completing that entire set, 1 through 102 PSA 9. I have like somewhere between 60 and 70 right now, maybe more now. I need to relook at that. But I have quite a few. A lot of what I need are some of the holos and then some like obscure commons and stuff. But the other thing I wanted to do was look for high grade classic EX cards. I collect EX cards. Actually, a lot of my trade binder, the hitters in it were the EX cards that I either wasn't super attached to or were in lower grade, and I know people just like them. But I did come across one vendor. I'll probably have some clips of him. I didn't get a chance to like get an up close look at his thing. He was very, very, very busy. He was doing lots of trades with kids, which is always kind of fun to see. Looking at their trade binders, pulling out cards, and being like, "Okay, I can do this much for you. What do you want to do?" And then he usually seemed like he was kind of trading in their favor. Again, something you only really see at card shows, especially Pokemon-related card shows. But I ended up doing a trade with him. He pulled about, let's see. One thing I did to prep myself for this was I did some homework and got like estimated grades and values of cards in my trade binder. I wasn't sharing this, but it's just so I kind of have a mindset of what I actually have. But I ended up trading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards to him for 2 cards, which is what I usually try to do. I usually try to trade more cards for less cards, so I'm getting a bigger card. But I ended up getting a Bayonet EX. Again, it is a near mint copy. Hopefully you guys can see that. If it doesn't show up well, I'll probably put up a picture, but hopefully you guys can see that. I got this card, and then I got a Jolteon EX. Again, near mint. I looked at him. He let me look at him beforehand, make sure I agreed with the near mint status. I did. So I'll probably end up grading these at some point. I'm probably not even going to take them out of these card savers. I'm going to leave them just as is and send them off. But I got these 2 cards to add to my collection. I collect a few Pokemon. Banette is one of them. I have most of Banette's cards at this point. I'm missing just a few. And then Jolteon, I also collect Jolteon. My favorite of the evolutions. So he had both of these, and by chance I pulled out my trade binder and said, "Is anything in here that you want?" He found some stuff. And he actually was a very fair trader. The most fair trade I've ever seen at a card show. He was doing about 90% trade value, maybe even 95, because I only had to pull out a few bucks to get me there. So yeah, that was a really, really close, fair deal. Really, really cool guy. I wish I got his name. I spaced in our conversation, but very, very cool. And I got those. Very happy with those. Future grading cards for me. And the big thing I picked up at this show, when I first got there, I made a full loop of the show floor looking at what people had, trying to see if anyone had PSA 9 base sets. They're not super rare, but they're also, you don't see them super often because most of them are pretty decent value. There was a vendor who had a PSA 9 Gyarados. That was fair-ish priced. If he was willing to trade, I probably would have tried to work for it, but that didn't happen. But I did find pretty early on a vendor who actually have some clips looking at his cards kind of after the deal. Actually, some of the cards I traded him were actually already in there. And he also PC'd a few cards. It was kind of cool. He showed me them go straight into his PC pile. But he had a PSA 9 Blastoise, which is the second biggest card in the set, one I needed. So I pulled out my binder. I asked him if he wanted to do anything. I had the strong EX cards that I knew were good trade bait in the front. And he looked at me at first. He's like, "This is your trade binder? Like, really? This quality of card?" I was like, "Yeah, let's see if we can work it out." And we ended up doing a trade for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 cards. Trading 15 cards for 1 card is the ideal situation. His trade factor was a little bit less. It kind of broke down to about 70% trade to 75% trade. I usually try to stay closer to the 75 to 80% range, but when it's 15 cards for 1 card, and the cards I was giving him weren't near mint. Most of them were moderate played. A couple were heavy played. 1 or 2 were light played, but nothing was near mint, and they're all vintage cards. So it was kind of like, I'm okay with this trade, but we worked it out, and I got myself the PSA 9 Blastoise. This is like a $1,000 card. I think recent sale was $1,000. He had it, I think 900 is what he had it at. So with my 15 cards and this, I actually got this and cash back. So all said and done, I walked out of the show with $30 more in my pocket than I did when I got there. And I got some pretty amazing cards out of it. Super, super pleased. If you are into cards at all, I highly recommend going to card shows. It's not the craziness that you see at like the Walmarts and the Targets with the scalpers and everything. It's people who want to be there. They're all friendly. Most of them are willing to work with you. And they can't really rip you off because everyone kind of knows, like, TCG player exists. So there's a point of reference for value. So as long as you're smart about it, you can get some pretty good deals. So yeah, that was my experience at this card show. Really, really good time. I would go again. I actually thought about going more than one day, but the way things worked out, I knew I was only going to be able to do one day. So glad I got what I got. Again, highly recommended. go to card shows, and let me know what you think, because this was a great time. Before we end this, I actually got a case for this. So I'm just gonna open this up, put it in this case, show it one last time, then we'll call it good. If you haven't seen these before, it's the Safeguard TCG Solutions. It's a cheap alternative to the more expensive ones out there, and these ones actually have like UV protection, so highly recommended. But I'll cut here real quick, and then I'll just show you it in the case. All right, and there it is in the case. Got the UV protection, the nice blue background, but this will actually go up on my shelf up here with my Charizard. And we're getting closer to knocking all the bigger cards off that list. Still need a Venusaur in PSA 9. I already have the case for it, so that's definitely a to-do list item. Hopefully this year, if I can find the right deal. But very happy to have knocked that off my list. And yeah, that is it for this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. Yeah, take care, everyone. There it is with the Charizard. And eventually the Venusaur is going to go over there. Just gotta find one. But very happy to add that to the collection and the display. So yeah,